All right. Well, good morning. And Jared, thanks for joining me here today on the Profitable Cleaner podcast. How's it going?
Very good. How are you, James?
Doing well. Man,
Good.
I'm super excited to speak with you. One, because it looks like you have some pretty vast experience with just running your own company here, but you're actually going to be the very first commercial cleaning expert that I've spoken to that's actually in Canada and not here stateside. So
Great.
that's kind of a unique perspective here. And I'm curious to learn a little bit about what the Canadian market looks like versus to what we might see here in the US, although I'm sure not too different. There's probably a little bit of differences. But for simple introductions, Jared, why don't you just kind of give us your story? Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah. So we started the business 11 years ago as a partner and myself, and really it came down to seeing a gap in the industry. There was a lot of mom and pops, and then there was the big guys, right? So there and those mom and pops were not professional. They didn't have systems and forms of accountability, and they didn't often treat their people very well. They didn't know how to communicate well with their clients. So there was all of that. And then there was the big guys that were, had all the systems in the world, but weren't intimate and weren't able to give that boutique style, quality of service. So we saw that opportunity, and we kind of came in the middle, and so brought a real professional service. We started, it was just my partner and myself cleaning a couple of coffee shops. He would clean one, I would clean the other, and but all with the intention of growing and building a real business. And the rest is history. Now we have about 120 staff, about 165 clients, and we're doing just over 3 million a year in sales. Yeah, it's been a great time all the way through. A lot of hard work, but we're here.
That's
So
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome, man. A lot of what I've learned about the industry is so crazy, like the humble beginnings everyone starts in. We work with a commercial cleaner in Wichita. It does like 5 million a year, and he literally was like, it was just a vacuum and myself that started
Right.
the business,
Yeah.
and grew it to kind of what you guys have grown it to. Take me to those early days, man. It was you and a partner and a few coffee shops, but like people don't raise their hand saying, I want to be a commercial cleaner, right? Or
Right.
in this industry. I know I didn't, and
Yeah.
I deal with the sales side. Where did you see the gap, and like kind of what turned you on to this industry?
So yeah, truth be told, it was actually my wife that brought the idea to me. My now wife, we weren't married at the time, but so she's a refugee. She came from northern Iraq, and her husband, or sorry, her father came here as a janitor. Well, didn't come here as a janitor, but
Sure.
became a janitor once he arrived. He had very little English, very little money, and started cleaning. And he did that his whole way through. All five of his kids are now university educated, and they're all very successful. But she saw that there's some really good people out there that are, coming here with humble expectations and humble beginnings, and are just looking to put food on the table for their family. And she said, you can find these people, and there's some really good people out there if you take the time to do so. And it could be a good business. And I kind of didn't take it too serious at the time. I was a hotshot manager at a restaurant, and didn't I wasn't a hotshot. That's giving myself too much credit, but I didn't take it too serious. But then I started looking at the service that we were getting at that restaurant. I asked the gentleman for the contract, and he said, "Oh, I don't have a contract." I said, "Can you email me something so I know what you're responsible for?" And he said, "I don't use email." Like, just write something down for me. Give me something. I just want to know what you do here. And like a month later, he still didn't get anything to me. And I saw, we pay him a lot of money. And I also saw that he treated his people really poorly. He would come in and yell at them, and treated them like second class citizens. And so I just knew there was a huge opportunity. So I quit. Like, I quit my job completely. I went cold turkey. I knew that if I just kind of did half and half, that I wouldn't really be desperate, and I wouldn't fight to make sure that I was successful. So I quit my job. My partner went to very part-time. He also worked at the restaurant. I hired him there. Um, and yeah, it was kind of, it was grueling, man. The first few years were not easy. You know, every night we'd go out and clean, and every morning we wake up in the morning, and my partner moved in with me into my 900 square foot condo, and we would sit at my kitchen table, this little wiggly, like uneven table, and we would cold call all day. And just go at it, and you know, then we had the two coffee shops, and we got one small little condo, and we spent hours cleaning that place. Like, you know, like we cleaned it top to bottom. We changed every light bulb, and the tenants were like, "This, it feels like a hospital in here. It's so amazing." And so that client that happened to be a property manager of that building saw our work ethic and the quality and our care and everything, and they ended up giving us another condo, and then another condo, and another one, and another one, and then it just started kind of taking off from there. Is really through the blood, sweat, and tears.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
I love those stories, and it's funny like listening to people talk about their first clients and how much work you really put in, and how
yeah,
much just like stress and energy and emotion went into those accounts.
totally.
And
Yes,
now, if you were to sign them on today, um, a lot of times they're kind of on the smaller end of accounts, right?
right.
And you've
Yeah,
learned because of the experience plays a factor into all of this. Take
exactly.
me back to those early days of trying to sell, man. Obviously, at Day Porter, we taught commercial cleaning sales. Um, I don't know what it's like to run a commercial cleaning company,
Yeah,
which is why I love hearing these stories. But we know what it's like selling big time contracts all the way to like one off, gym cleans, right? So we've kind of seen it all in the sales realm. Early on, tell me about your kind of like how you guys generated business. It sounds like word of mouth, but how you went
yeah,
out there and got it.
yeah.
And what's that look like now that you're at the $3 million annual stage? Like, how has that evolved?
Yeah. Okay. No, good question. So when I was working at the restaurant, knowing that I was going to be leaving, it was a downtown, very, very popular restaurant, you know, and all the big honchos would come down for lunch and that sort of thing. And so there was some pretty important people in there. And so I took full advantage of that. And I was talking to every customer, getting to know them, telling them what my plans are, and building that relationship with them. So when I was ready, I had some connections. So that's kind of, you know, and then beyond the restaurant, just talking to everyone, right? Like just
Yeah,
building those, like through my sphere of influence of those who I knew, and building the like, you know, the foundation, so everyone knew what I was doing. So that kind of started there, and got some. That's how we got the coffee shops, right? Because there were some people we knew from the industry and that sort of thing. Um, then once we started the business, it was cold calling. Like, you know, it was horrible. Like getting so many no's. Like it was like no, 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 and it was scary stuff. But then all of a sudden we got that yes, we got that condo, that small that I was talking about.
yeah,
It was just you know, like it was just very random, good timing. They just happened to be looking for someone, and I called them at the right time, and they said, yeah, you know what, you could give us a try here, and you know, and so we got in there. And then a lot of it, like you said, was through quality of work. A lot of our growth, our sales, was really through showing people what we can do, right? And word spreads fast. People appreciate good work and honest work, you know. And so
absolutely.
so that's our greatest sales tool, is just doing a freaking awesome job, you know, and working the heck out of every contract that we got, and servicing the heck out of it. So, so that's kind of, you know, like initially how we saw that growth. And as we started growing, we tried all sorts of things. You know, we did radio, totally not successful, and very expensive.
Yeah,
But you know,
figured.
that's not to say that it doesn't work for someone, but I think there's a way to do it right, and we didn't do it right. I think personally, if you do radio, you have to do other things at the same time. So you see it in the magazine, you see it in the
Sure.
radio, and you have to do a full, that's my opinion. But we didn't get anything from there and spent a lot of money. But we developed our online presence. So kind of as we've grown, that's been a big focus of ours, and making sure that we're found when people search.
Sure.
Let's face it, the yellow pages is or Google is like the yellow pages on steroids,
Yes.
right? Like times 1,000, right? So if people are looking, they're going to Google search us, and we want to make sure that we're found. So that's been very important to our growth. We have a sales manager. He's been with us. Well, he's been with us for 4 years, but we've had sales manager for about 6 years now. So around year 3 or 4 that we hired a sales manager, and that's been extremely helpful in our growth, and allowed myself to focus on more of the big picture stuff, and that sales manager to go close the deals, take the measurements, take the appointments, all those sort of things. And that's been very useful. So he's prospecting, talking to people all the time. We sometimes contract out a cold caller. Sometimes he does it himself, and reaching out, just talking to everyone that we possibly can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think even more so than ever, and this isn't a sales cliche, but they say sales is a numbers game.
Mm,
Man, I think with commercial cleaning, that couldn't be more true, because I know that if I have a list of 100 people, probably 90 of them don't need our service right now.
right.
And maybe even half of those guys might not need our service like at all.
Yeah.
And then the other 40 don't need it right now. And then you probably will only speak to maybe 10,
Yeah.
and they might have some sort of pain point. They might have some sort of consideration. And maybe if you're lucky, one's like, absolutely, we need this.
Yeah. That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's like you almost have to stay in front of the same network of prospects. And we like to say plant seeds for the future. And it's a hard
Yes.
thing to tell, because if you're developing a relationship with the facility director, it's a 6-figure contract. The truth is, they might be locked into that contract till June of next year.
Right.
And things can go bad quickly in the commercial cleaning world,
Yeah.
to where you could fire a cleaner or whatnot. So it's important to just relationally stay in front of these people and be of value. And so, like, we always say, hey, we're here to be a resource, no strings attached. But then you have to honor that. So if
Yeah.
they call you up and they have a question,
Yes.
you have to answer or be of service with no expectation.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
there's a need, you're the person that they call.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's kind of one of those things. It's like we're okay being option B,
Yeah,
like that's
there you go.
like, and always
Like
being
that.
that option B. Because at one day, as long as you're continually keeping in touch with them, like you said, and keeping your brand fresh in their mind, they will eventually want to make a change, right? So you have to be the authoritative figure, the expert in the industry, the person that they want to work with, or the company that they want to work with, and then once they're ready to make that decision, you're there and ready for them.
Yep,
So yeah.
absolutely. What talk to me about, like, I'm curious about the Canadian market. The buying cycle here, and it's very different from like Utah to Florida to Texas. All the buying cycles are a little bit different, but on average, once you engage with the prospect and you find a need, it takes anywhere between like 4 to 8 weeks for it to actually come to fruition. I'm just curious, kind of, what's your sales cycle once you know there's someone,
Right.
and in your market, what's that look like?
Yeah, that's probably a better question for my sales manager. I mean, I should know that, but truth be told, I think it does change all the time. Like,
Sure.
for example, Michael, our business development manager, he called me this morning. First thing, he was the first person I spoke to this morning, and early on, he said, "Oh, Monday morning, we got a contract." And I was
That's the
like,
way to
"Awesome,
start.
good for you. Great way to start the day." And he just sent that quote in on Friday.
Nice.
So, right. So like sometimes it can be really quick.
Yeah.
And every customer, especially in our industry, like every customer is just so different, right? Like some are, getting multiple bids, going to RFP. Some are just coming straight to us and that's it. And they're getting one quote and they're in a rush. Maybe their cleaners stop showing up. maybe they got COVID or whatever, right? Like there's so many scenarios that can come up that can change that, how fast or how slow it can take. Uh,
Absolutely.
but but yeah, no, I think, you know, the bigger ones are generally longer, right? Like, you know, usually those, they are more professional. They're giving the other company 30 days.
Yeah.
So I would say like often that is probably about an 8 week turnaround by the time
Yeah.
we go, you know, put the quote in,
Sure.
and they make a decision, and then they give the existing company that 30 days. Um, yeah.
So yeah, there's always like it always seems like there's always like one last big step to get through before you sign like a bigger contract. Like you said, like a 30-day opt out with their other cleaner, which you listen, we encourage because we would want the same for
Yeah,
us, right?
exactly.
We want that type
Exactly.
of you know, the my favorite clients are the ones that call you the day before the invoice is due and say we're done.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all right, well, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Um, a few last questions for you here, Jared. And dude, this has been awesome just chatting with you. And I think what you guys have built up there in Canada is awesome to start from two coffee shops to what, you know, 100 people working with you now. That's amazing, man. And
Thank you. Thank you.
we call that the American dream. For you, it's the
Yeah.
Canadian dream,
I
you know?
still call it the American dream.
Yeah. Talk to me though, like I guess a few last questions here. Like, what's your main like? It looks like you guys service a lot of different industries. I've noticed organically some cleaners just kind of find out like the guys we work with here in Colorado, they service a lot of cannabis and companies
Right.
because it's Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, Kansas is dealerships. There's a lot of highway out there. So, what's like some of your bigger industries you guys work in, and how did you guys establish kind of a presence in those industries?
Yeah, you know, it does range. Our largest portion of clients is condo apartment buildings, and we love those. Like they're just perfect, especially during COVID because they don't go away. In fact, they increase service.
Yes.
Um, so um, that just happened naturally because we did get that first condo, and then we saw the success from there, and it just kind of took off. You know, like we just saw that we liked it, that there was a good fit, and they property managers liked us. And because with those is it's about making property managers life as easy as possible, right? That's all they want. They just want to make their life as easy as freaking possible so that they can focus on other portfolio or get a bigger portfolio or make their,
Totally.
you know. So for us it's like, how can we do that? That's our mission. Not you know, like it's not, we're not thinking about the cleaning, we're thinking about how do we make their life amazing,
For
you know.
sure.
And if we can do that, you know, it works. So adding on, you know, the intercom changes, putting up elevator pads, you know, and all those little things that we even do, we print off notices for them in a lot of our buildings, that sort of
Nice.
thing. So that's one industry we've seen a lot of success in. Another one, we have a lot of dental offices, and I mean, again, like I think like it was like within the year one, it was my dentist that we ended up getting and starting with, right? And again, just having that relationship there,
Yeah.
and then learning that we can do them really well, and you know, and sharing that with other dental offices. And I don't know the number, but I would say we're upwards of 10 dental offices or
Nice.
so.
Nice. No, that's a good
Um,
niche to be in.
yeah, yeah, they're really good. Also, not going anywhere in COVID.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly, man. No, any
yeah,
type of healthcare is a good industry to be
yes,
in. I
yeah,
heard something from a property manager that I just thought was so valuable. Actually, on this podcast, she said, what I love about a good commercial cleaning company is more than anything, yes, they make my life easier. I don't want to have to worry about the cleaning at any of my properties, but more than anything, they're also like my eyes and ears on the ground.
yes, yes,
And she's like, a good commercial cleaner will tell me, like, hey, like, I saw a broken window on the second floor, just FYI. And
yes,
like, and I'm just
exactly.
like, wow, I didn't view it like that, but a good position to take is you are their eyes and ears, and that's
Yes,
part of making their life easier.
very well said. Very well said. Yeah, that's, you nailed it. That's perfect.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Dude, so I have to ask you one last question here. I a few things that stood out to me is you talk about you're okay with being option B because you
Right.
know that B will maybe turn into option A someday. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, to the person listening that might be a new commercial cleaner, maybe they have one account, 10 accounts, they just hired their first employee. What would your advice be to like the young cleaning entrepreneur who you were just 10, 11 years ago?
Yeah. Oh boy, that's there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is take care of your people, like your team. Like there is nothing more important, right? Like your cost on your people alone is like there's nothing even close. Like, we're talking like, with our managers, we're close to 70%. And
Yeah.
then our next biggest cost is 3.5% at equipment, right? So like if you don't have your people part down, you have nothing, right? And that's where a lot of the people that I think really struggle. They just can't figure that component out. So the hiring process is very slow. Take your time. Be extremely picky, and because if you hire the right person, your life will get incredibly easy. If you hire the wrong person, you're going to be in a rat race, right? So
Yep.
so that's number one. Take care of people. Like put them like not just as your equal, but treat them like they're gold, right? Like
Yeah.
put them on a platter, like on a pedestal, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's number one. The next thing I would say is if you're gonna do it, work your butt off.
Sure.
Like swing your fists, work like you've never worked before, and be patient, right? Like you gotta put in, you gotta do it. You gotta just swing your fists. It's not a get rich fast program. It's just not.
Yes.
It's a get rich slow program, and you can get rich. You can do it. And like I feel like I'm just starting. We still have so much to go here, but it is slow, right? You have to be
Sure.
patient. You have to do it right. So work hard.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to swing your fist. What
I
else?
love that, man. No,
Yeah.
dude, I love that. Like 70% of your cost is people, so that needs to be your number one priority. And
Oh,
geez,
yeah.
man, that's really well said. And man, I talk to these cleaners, and they have this like staffing problem, not because they can't find help. That's kind of an issue everywhere right now, but they can't retain quality work, and so it's like, as commercial cleaning professionals, we need to really keep our leadership in check.
Yes.
We need to like keep ourselves in check, and how are we inspiring? People can overlook and think the cleaning industry is just the cleaning industry, but we're in the people business.
Yeah.
and,
100%.
and that just reinforces it. And spoken
Yeah.
from someone that started with you and a partner to where you're at now,
Yeah.
I think it's well said.
Yeah. And to this day, I hire every single person that works for us.
Good.
Right. That's one job I won't give away because it's that important. It's
Yeah.
that important. Who works for us is everything.
Yeah.
Right. So we can't, you can't, I can't put enough stress on how important that step
Yeah,
is. Right.
for
If you get
sure.
that right, everything else will fall into place.
Man, that's really well said. And that's why you guys are successful. So this last question is a fun one. I have a black box and a white box here. They're a deck of cards. I've never read any of the questions in them. Pick either the black box or the white box, and we're going to ask you a random question, and that's how we end each show.
Okay. Let's go black.
Okay?
Yeah.
So funny, man. 90% of the people always pick the black
Oh,
box. And
really?
these are like the crazier questions. So,
Nice.
um, okay, brag to me about the best things going on in your life the past 30 days.
Best thing going on in my life past there. Oh man. Well, I mean, I have to put my children up there for sure. Like I got an 8-year-old, a daughter that just turned 6 this
Cool.
past weekend, yeah, and then 8-month old, and
Yeah, wow, you're busy.
yeah, but they're my world, right? So
Sure.
when I'm not, swinging my fist with picture perfect cleaning, I'm enjoying every moment with them, and yeah, they're definitely the best thing in my last 30 days. But you know what? There's a lot of good things within my business as well, that I can't have to be grateful for as well. So lots to be grateful for. That's
Yeah,
for
cool,
sure.
man. Well, dude,
Yeah.
family's everything, and it's a big principle of ours at Day Porter. And I think, I don't. work just to work. I work for a bigger purpose, which is also my kids. So eight
Yeah.
months, man. Are you sleeping through the night yet?
I am. My wife, not so much. Yeah.
Man, bless her heart, man. Those are
Yeah.
I have a 1 year old, so I'm not
Yeah.
I know how that is, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's hard work. It's hard work. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Jared, where can people find you or learn more about your company? We'll link everything in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, where can people find you at?
Yeah. So our website is www.pictureperfectcleaning.ca. So they can find me there. If they want to get to me personally on LinkedIn, Jared Sarbit, Sarbit. You can, if you want to add that link in or whatever
Yep,
you'd like.
absolutely.
They can message me there, add me there. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm pretty accessible. So yeah.
Awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
Jared, I really appreciate it, brother. And man, we'd love to have you back on and maybe even talk to your sales manager sometime. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He'd give a lot more value than I would, I think. He's good. So
I appreciate it, man.
you bet. Thanks, James.
All
Anytime.
right.
Okay, take care.